This is the Philadelphia Soul official pregame show. It's live here on Bob Long Sports with Bob Long and Eric Nash. And Eric Nash, this is ArenaBowl 30. This is as big as it gets in arena football, and we're certainly excited to be here at the Wells Fargo Center as the one-loss Philadelphia Soul take on the number 2 overall seed, the Tampa Bay Storm. It's been a great year so far, Eric. It's only fitting that it culminates this way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any other way that it could have culminated. Really, I mean, you got a 4-loss team and a 1-loss team, and then you got the rest of the league. Okay,
and then you have the rest of the teams that were under 500.
Right, all right, and they were
the two shining stars of the league are here tonight
for sure. But a shining star in Tampa Bay that the Soul have handled fairly adequately for 3 times this season. I believe twice here and once on the road, but they've handled them. So which is interesting. The Soul have been set as an 11-point favorite, which you may not know. Which I don't know if that's a large point spread in the Arena League or what, but it seems like a fairly significant point spread.
Possession and a half for the league's biggest game and the culminating game, the game between 1 and 2. I certainly think that's fair. I think back to a 56-52 game that they played at Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay. That's certainly a fair comment to make on your part. That 4-point game versus the 11-point spread today.
Right.
But of course, playing at home for the Philadelphia Soul has been a big advantage this year. Their one loss was on the road to Baltimore, and by and large, they have defended home turf this year.
And that's where you get the other 7, 8 points, really, from what you're talking about. But you know what? It's the Arena League. Anything can happen. I harken back to just last year when the Soul won their championship.
That's right, on the road.
Do you remember where they won it?
They won it in Glendale against Arizona Rattlers.
Right, and do you remember Arizona was the prohibitive favorite in that game?
Remember, those two teams split that year. So Arizona and Philadelphia, the two best teams in the league last year, and by virtue of the point differential in terms of their wins and losses head-to-head, Arizona won out by about 6 or 7 points based on a 13-point win versus an 8-point win or something of that ilk last year. So we didn't have to have that type of tiebreaker this year, something I think AFL Commissioner Scott Butera was very happy about, and we'll hear from him in just a minute. But I would say that last year the Soul were less of an underdog than Tampa Bay is this year.
Okay, that's fair. But I think, what you want to look at when you look at the season in totality, I mean, I think that, this was really a great year for the AFL, and it could have been a not-so-great year. But, with Scott and others, they've risen to the occasion. They are on the mend and growing and moving in the right direction. And I think this wonderful sport is going to be around for a while in this city. I think it's going to, with wonderful teams like Philadelphia and Tampa, they're going to grow on that and build this league the proper way. And I think that's really what it's all about.
We'll get into the game itself and some of the keys to it in just a minute, but I think you mentioned the league and its growth, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't start this show with a discussion about that, and who better to tell the story than the AFL Commissioner Scott Butera. We had a chance to take a few minutes with him down low in the bowels of Wells Fargo Center here, and he was very, very generous with his time. We appreciate that, and let's go to our interview with Scott right now. Now we have the Commissioner of the Arena Football League, Scott Butera, with us. Scott, it's great to talk to you in person. Appreciate all the time you've made for us over the years on our pregame show. And now this is the real thing. This is the final game of the Arena Football League season.
Yeah, well, Bob, thanks for having me on today. It's great to be with you guys. You did a tremendous job in Philadelphia. We're really excited about today. Today is the culmination of everything we've really worked for all year. At the beginning of the year, I think we all told everyone to make kind of a strategic decision. We were going to focus on having nothing but quality ownership, quality teams, and try and really create this tremendous sport. It's always been a good sport, but get the creme de la creme, put on a great product, and then work hard toward making arena football kind of fall in line with the way people are, consuming sports these days with technology and media and really entertainment. And boy, you can never have anything better than tonight. I think we have two outstanding teams. They're well coached. We're going to see a lot of exciting plays, and you can just see the buzz in the crowd just coming in today. People tailgating in the parking lot. So this is exciting.
We're excited to have you in town. Of course, the Tampa Bay Storm, a great team in their own right. They were the two top teams in the year and the whole season, Scott. And so very fitting, it's going to be even a very fitting final contest between the league's two best.
Couldn't end it any better than this. I mean, both teams were very competitive. We had our awards show last night. A lot of awards winners on both sides. The Solar, obviously a seasoned team coming off a championship. Nothing harder than trying to repeat. So to get back here with a one-loss record is just amazing. Great tribute to ownership, Ron Jaworski and Coach Tolzell, and the whole team that saw that. They're a really smart football team. They know how to finish games. They play well. They don't make mistakes. And Tampa, boy, what a turnaround. I mean, here's a team that had 2 wins last year, and here they are. And it's just been incredible what Derek Brooks and Coach Ron James has brought to that program. So it's going to be a tough battle.
Coach, Commissioner, we had Ron Jaworski as well as Clint Dolezal hyping up this matchup on 97.5 Fanatic. They're our colleagues. They broadcast the games on the radio all year long. In fact, the Fantasy Fest, the station's big live event on Xfinity Live, just so happened to be today, and they're funneling a lot of those ladies and gentlemen into this game tonight.
Yep.
What have you seen, and you mentioned folks tailgating, etc., what have you seen from Philadelphia, the Soul, and some of the media partners to boost this?
I got to tell you, the way this city rallies around a team is second to none. I flew into town, I got in the cab, the driver knew all about this game. The people at the hotel, I had my AFL hat on, they knew exactly what was going on. And you don't see that in a lot of cities, and I think just the knowledge of sport, the knowledge of sports in general, the way they rally around their team, the way that media supports their teams, really in depth, all kinds of media, everything from TV to radio to what we're doing here, and does it in the right way. Everybody, like I said, really understands what we're talking about, has an appreciation and a love for the teams they follow, and it's so much fun to be in this team.
So no one knows more about this league than you, the ins, the outs, the intricacies. What are some of the keys that you see for tonight's game on both sides?
Well, the key for tonight's game is to stay calm. Keep your head together. It's, mistakes are going to happen. Don't let them derail you. Play hard, play tough. Try and just not. Sometimes what happens is you get in the championship game and you're just so jacked. The hardest part of a championship game is waiting for it to happen. We're sitting there last night with the guys and you can just tell they were dying on that field. So I just think staying calm, doing what you're doing, listen to what your coaches have taught you throughout the year, you're just fine.
From a league perspective, this is AFL Commissioner Scott Butera. We have live on the Pregame Show. From a league perspective, no matter how this game shakes out, winner or loser on either side, what will the takeaway be from the 2017 season in terms of the horizon moving forward and the upward trajectory?
I think that we did a great job, building the type of league that we wanted to build. I think we got the right owners in place, built a solid foundation, built a platform that we can now grow on. So people say, what changes are you looking at making going forward? It's really more about growth. So I think we've made the changes we need to make. I think we're happy that it's kind of proven out the way we hoped it would. So now it's just a matter of taking that and getting bigger.
Well, I hope you enjoy the game tonight. Congratulations on a great season, Scott. And we appreciate all
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. You do a terrific job, and God bless all of you and the folks in Philadelphia. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Scott.
Appreciate it.
And there it was, interview with the AFL Commissioner Scott Butera. Eric, he did a great job, I thought, of really breaking everything down. And why not? Who knows this game better than he does?
No, it was great to give us some time. Right before. You got to figure the commissioner of the league is pretty busy an hour before the game.
He was a busy man.
So he did a very good job. I should probably put my headphones on.
Or talking to the microphone, one, other, both.
We figure you can't get both.
Hey,
But
listen,
anyway.
how many games are we into this season, right? It's great to be here, though, with all you folks here on the Philadelphia Soul official pregame show. His name is Eric Nash. My name is Bob Long. That other gentleman you saw, as we mentioned, the AFL Commissioner Scott Butera. You mentioned him, or you heard him mention in that interview, Eric, and you mentioned as we listened to it again, he mentioned the awards dinner last night, where they gave out the Offensive Player of the Year, the MVP, and the Coach of the Year, as well as the Rookie of the Year, who went to Shane Carden. But the Offensive Player of the Year and the AFL MVP, we thought it would come down to Dan ArenaBowl and Randy Hipbeard, the two quarterbacks on these respective teams, and the winner was Randy Hipbeard of the Tampa Bay Storm, the second overall team in the Arena Football League this year. Eric, by stats alone, I certainly think that Hipbeard was deserving of that award, but in terms of sheer dominance from a team perspective, now maybe without the benefit of the Souls defense, but Dan ArenaBowl perhaps could have been deserving of that award as well.
Well, I mean, if you look at Tampa, as I think we mentioned earlier, the big comeback year that they had. I mean, new players, but they went from a 2-win team to the second best team in the league.
Right.
But I think that perhaps that may be some chalkboard or locker room chalkboard fodder right there. Not that the Soul needs any reason to play better at home, but maybe so they don't slip up like what happened last year to the favorite. That would be nice because the shoe's on the other foot this year. They're the favorite.
Man,
they're at home.
You keep saying that. I think there are guys on this Soul team last year that would say to you, we were not underdogs in that game last year. They had the same record as the Rattlers in the regular season, and the only reason they didn't have that home field advantage, as we mentioned, was because of the point differential in the games that these two teams played against each other last year. And one guy in particular that might not say that the Soul were a favorite or an underdog last year, and he's on this Soul team right now, Michael Benson.
Wow.
The big fullback, the big running back who leads the league in touchdowns for a running back, and it's not by a little. He has been far and away the league's greatest asset when it comes to running out of the backfield.
I wonder what Michael Benson would say as who was the favorite of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Of that game last year.
I don't think he would have said it was
necessarily
the Rattlers.
I don't know. He seems to, well, if you know the history with Benson, he hasn't won a championship, really never, maybe in junior high. That's the last championship that this fine athlete won at any level, any
Eric
competitive
Nash
level.
has been following the career since junior high, haven't you?
So if we needed, Michael Benson right there is my prediction to be the star of this game.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna lay that out there, and I have a little trivia for you as well.
Let's do it.
When was, and for the folks out in TV land or podcast land or whatever land we're in right now, what is the last time that a Philadelphia professional sports team won a championship of their league in Philadelphia?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I don't know this answer. I think so. It can't be a college team because those are all played in third-party venues. It could be hockey, but I don't think it was.
No, it's pro football. Only pro football is the trivia question.
Oh, well then the Philadelphia Eagles, because they started playing the Super Bowl at third-party venues, so it would have to be the NFL championship in 1960.
That's
against
correct.
Green Bay Packers.
Now, not that there was a lot to choose from in Philadelphia Pro Football Championships.
You made it really easy on
in
me.
all fairness.
I'm thinking,
but
did the Flyers clinch it home in 73 or 74 or
Well-
74, 75? Did the Sixers win it home?
wait, let me tell you, it wasn't quite that easy because the Philadelphia Star, the old team for the USL,
how about 2008?
Won two teams.
Philadelphia Phillies.
Won two championships, neither here. And the Soul won their two championships at the ArenaBowl that was at some neutral site, not at home.
Got it.
The point was there was 4 championships, and there's not been a home championship. So, and look, Philadelphia, a city that certainly is starving for some football gratification and a championship in that quote-unquote parade that they always talk about. Here you are. So I see the fans are filling up, and they are filling up in the top bowl too, by the way.
Yes, very
Bob,
impressive.
Which is, that shows that, that the league is doing well, and the fans do want a winner in this city, and they have a winner. I mean, I can't imagine a team for a 2-year stretch that has dominated as much as the Soul have in the Arena Football League. Can you? I mean,
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
in any sport, not just football. That's pretty
Probably not.
big domination there.
Probably not. And
One
it's been
loss
very
that was a
impressive.
hiccup, if anything. It was a hiccup this year. Really.
On the road against Baltimore.
Right. And they could have won that game very easily, you know. But anyway, here we are, and I don't know, they're starting to play the Rocky music, so I guess the Philadelphia team's just about ready to play a big match, huh? Looks that way.
This
Anyway.
is the Philadelphia Soul official pregame show. It's live here on Bob Long Sports. We appreciate everybody being here with us all year long, and now for the culmination. It'll be a lot of fun in this one. Let's start by breaking down the Philadelphia Soul team, led by Dan Raudeball at quarterback. And if you've watched this show over the course of the year, if you've watched the Soul on CBS Sportsnet, or if you've listened on 97.5 The Fanatic, you know that he is an absolute weapon on offense. He could have been the Offensive Player of the Year or the MVP, snubbed for Randy Hipbeard, who was also quite deserving. But the receiving core that Dan Raudeball has is as good as any in the league. Darius Money Reynolds, a guy who's gotten looks at several higher levels of football and now finds himself as one of the most dominant receivers that this league has to offer. Ryan McDaniel, as well as the guy that was the MVP of this game last year, SK, Sean Kalin Amoku. He's been a very, very good player this year. Now, they have Ryan McDaniel listed on special teams today, and in his place, Darius Prince as the number 2 wide receiver, number 6. We haven't seen a lot of Prince this year, but again, another talented guy that this Philadelphia Soul team can bring in the wide receiver position. So there's that depth of a guy like McDaniel, you know, and Prince in his place. You have 4 guys. Poppy Livers has been in and out. Chris Duval, I see him in the lineup as well. That's probably the best asset of this team, not named Dan Raudeball, is the wide receiving core, Eric.
Well, I think you have to talk about the Soul defense in the Arena Football League setting and how dominant they are in that forum. What do you think about that?
The Arena Football League is all about big plays and stops when you need them, but it's not about going 3 and out and trying to get stop after stop, simply because nobody does it. And if you had a team that did that, they'd be winning games based on holding the other team under 30 points. But that doesn't happen in this league, although the Soul has done it a few times. What it comes down to, Eric, is big plays, turnovers, and interception fumble returns for touchdowns. That's what turns games on their heads, and that's what you have with the Philadelphia Soul. Between James Romaine and Dwayne Hollis, 2 of the top interception getters in the Arena Football League, you have a big play defense that's thwarted their opponents over the course of the year and really lifted them to some great games. And overall, 13 wins in the regular season and 1 in the playoffs.
Wouldn't you agree, though, that the stops are what kind of win the game? I understand they don't happen that often, but they're big. They're like a double turnover. It's a big thing when you win, when you have a stop in this game. And we can't really discount the quality of the Soul coaching, although Tampa Bay's Coach of the Year this year,
Ron James,
is not, must be considered very, very skillful and this is going to be a good matchup. I mean, ultimately, what we're saying is, if I'm hearing you correctly, and what I've looked at, it could be a closer game than we're saying, than the 11-point game we're talking about.
I think so. And another key, we talk about the receivers on the Soul side. You take a look at the defensive backfield with James Romaine and Dwayne Hollis. The other thing, Eric, is the defensive line of the Philadelphia Soul, once again, is one of the best that the league has to offer. And remember, they lost Teddy Jennings from last year. They lost Jake Metz from last year, who was signed by the Buffalo Bills. But in the meantime, Sean Daniels has come in and done a great job. Justin Lars has been good, and we're going to see Zach Zidian in there. We haven't seen as much of Zach, but he's lined up as a starting defensive end tonight. So Bo Bell and Joe Gooseby in the Mac and Jack linebacker positions, respectively. Both of them do good things, and Bo Bell will lay you out Arena Football style. So I don't really identify a pure weakness on this Soul defense, and it's been the best defense by far in Arena Football this year.
And I truly believe that that's the consistency that makes the Soul a one-loss team for 2 years running.
Sure.
That to me, that's that, and the coaching and the obviously the quarterback and the experience that the quarterback brings you. But all things being equal, I believe that it's the home field advantage is huge in the Arena Football League. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Aspect? And I think it certainly has been very huge in Philadelphia. So I feel that this game will not be as close as what we're talking that it might be.
Really?
I feel a blowout coming.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like a 15, 20-point blowout. I feel like they've been talking, the Philadelphia Soul, every advertisement I've seen, everything that if you ever hear the coaches talking about, the front office was, let's win it again, back to back, whatever the saying was, and I can't recall what their saying was, but they've been talking about that from
the road to repeat.
From the get-go, from before opening night. Okay, not so much undefeated season, but repeat. We're here to repeat. And the coach is no joke, man. The coach is a serious-minded guy. Dalzell is not going. He is not. This team's not going to. I don't think they're going to drop. I really don't. That's my feeling, and I think it's going to be a big game for our running back that's been long awaiting a championship in his career. Okay, I think it's going to be the culmination of his career, and it's going to be a wonderful moment for Philadelphia. For God's sake, we need that. We really need something. And so people, get behind this team. I hope they're watching and I hope they're cheering because it's a good time down here. And it's a very good product.
Yeah, the fans are very loud right now. The stands are filling up to our right. Bob Long and Eric Nash here on the Philadelphia Soul official pregame show. Eric's on the record saying he thinks the Soul is going to win big.
20 points.
If the Soul were to trip up, and trip up's not fair because this Tampa Bay Storm team is extremely talented, but it's going to be up to guys like Alvin Ray Jackson at the jack linebacker position to be a disruptive force as well. It's really important that he be a key for them. And I think, you look at some of these other guys. Alan Chapman, he's a guy that was picked up by this Tampa Bay Storm team, a longtime veteran of the Arena Football League, a multiple-time Arena Bowl champion. He was brought in the penultimate week of the season to add some depth to the defensive secondary. So in terms of Darius Money Reynolds and SK, the little burner who was able to do a lot of damage against Arizona last year in this very game, it's going to be up to guys like Ray Jackson and like Chapman to be the disruptive forces, and I think they're going to keep them in this game. I think we do have a close game on our hands. I think that's going to be a great product for the league, for the fans, for our friend Scott Butera, for everybody in Arena Football League, and eventually I think that flows through over the course of the next season. They build on the momentum. I mean, look at this crowd right now, Eric. This is phenomenal, filling up the upper bowl here at the Wells Fargo Center. These people love their football and wouldn't be surprised to see a few Tampa Bay Storm fans up here as well.
Did I miss your prediction? I don't know.
No prediction coming from me.
No prediction,
Close game. It's going to come down to who can draw that last turnover and maybe a pick six in the early portion of the second half that somebody's just unable to recover from. But I don't know who that will come from because you have two ball-hawking defenses, Eric.
I'm sorry, my eyes were wandering. The Soulmates were arriving one by one on a Harley. It was you probably heard it revving back there. So that was
It's a production here.
I'm an old guy, I take my excitement when I can find it, okay? And that was very interesting to me. Anyway, but so we're on the record. Well, I'm on the record. You're taking the fifth on this one, which is okay. That's all right. I think it's going to be a big win because I just think the home field is big. It's always been big for this team. I've seen them throw in clunker first halves and then, with an even first half and end up winning by 25 points. They're a very good team. They're a very strong second half team, and they're going to have the crowd behind them.
That's a good point, though, Eric.
Right.
You mentioned some of the clunkers they've put up in the first half, and a lot of times they've let these teams that just simply are not as talented as this Soul team hang in for a long time. It only bit them once. Two ways to look at that. One, now they know how to play in close games and they know how to close things out. Two, Do they fall asleep at the wheel too early? And if they do it against this team, that's simply not going to work.
I don't see that. I don't see them becoming complacent in the Arena Bowl. Isn't that what they're all here for? I mean, but if you can't leave it out in the field today, then you shouldn't be dressing for the game. I mean, that's just my feeling, But I just look. I mean, maybe I'm a homer. Okay, fine. I've been living here for over 50 years. I have a right to be a homer. I'm a Philly homer, but I think this team is special, and they're really they seem destined to me. Tampa's a wonderful story, but I don't think it's their year, and they still lost 4 games.
They lost 4 games, but
right.
Talk about the job that Ron James did, though, to turn this team around. You mentioned they were the worst team in the league last year. Here they are, 10 wins in the regular season, in the Arena Bowl, and some convincing wins over the course of the regular season to show this is no fluke. This is truly, over 14 games, the second best team in arena football. But they got 60 minutes to prove that they're number 1.
If I could just counter that, you had 2 expansion teams, and you had a Cleveland team that was decimated, kind of torn apart. So you almost had the reality of 3 expansion teams. So, having a 4-loss season in the league this year is not a 1-loss season. And they lost every game they played in Philly, both home and away.
In fairness, I will, because I'm not disputing how good this Soul team is. The best receiver on the field today is on the Tampa Bay sidelines. Joe Hills, an absolutely dominant Arena Football League player, has had as good a career as anybody. Touchdown scoring streak in the 80s. This man is an absolute beast, and James Roman is going to have his hands full against the number 1 wide receiver for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he's very legit. But what I'll say, if the best player ends up on the Tampa Bay bench in this game, it's only because he's a Philadelphia Soul player who fell into their bench by mistake, and they'll push him back out. Because the Soul's going to win this game. They're going to take it home. We're going to be down the field in about 2.5 hours. What's the name of the trophy? I should know that.
What, the championship trophy?
It's got a real name. Yeah, like the probably the Chicky and Pete's trophy or something. Okay.
We are here at Chicky and Pete's.
You can eat crab fries out of it. It's good. It's not
there
bad.
You go.
Anyway, so there we are. So I want you folks to enjoy the game, and I want to thank you, Bob, for having me in here a couple times to sub for the usual co-host,
Rob Stott.
Rob,
yes.
And I think that it was a lot of fun, and I'm going to enjoy the game, man. I'm really going to enjoy the game. So thank you.
Well, it's been fun. We've been doing this all year long for each and every home game for the Philadelphia Soul. It's been great to be on this ride with you as well, the fans. So for Eric Nash, for Michael Bariski, who's been on earlier in the year, and of course for Rob Stott, I am Bob Long saying so long. Enjoy the football game tonight, folks. Arena Bowl 30 commences next.